Day one of the 2025 NFL Draft is officially in the books, and what a start to this highly anticipated time in the NFL's preseason, postseason, whatever you want to call it. The Tennessee Titans got us running quickly when they, with the number one overall pick, picked up Miami's ACC phenom Cam Ward, the quarterback that was highly touted throughout camp. And they're hoping he is going to really become the new cornerstone of their franchise, but not to be outdone. The number 2 pick, you've already heard, the big move. The Jacksonville Jaguars made headlines, snagging the number 2 all-around pick, Travis Hunter, that dynamic two-way threat that there's been so much speculation to see how it's going to translate into the NFL. With trades flying and needs being addressed, early it became clear that the focus and the mindset of a lot of the top teams in this pick were on offensive line and defensive talent. The top 15 picks were full of those types of players coming off the board. Cornerbacks, trench protectors, teams across the board were focused on shoring up these important parts of the team. But what are we really here for? What do we really want to know? What did the Baltimore Ravens do? Because we know we had that number 27 pick in the first round. Well, if you read the title, you already know what we did. But what maybe you don't know is how impactful this is and what the AFC North teams did in their scramble to try to match the Ravens' move. I'm Rob Love. You're watching One Flock. Welcome back. It's good to have you here. It's time to fly. Let's get this thing going.
Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens. We are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock, we are one flock.
Welcome back to One Flock. Man, I'm so glad to have you back here. I know it's been a while. You know, it slows down a bit when we get to this time of the year. But this is exciting time what we have going on right now. This is the 2025 NFL Draft that we have to talk about. And what we're going to dive in today is Baltimore's first round selection, what that signals for the team's direction heading into this next season. But that's just the beginning. The Ravens entered this year's draft, as many of you know, with 11 total picks. That is a lot of picks. Now, of course, there was only one in the first round. But right now we've got 2 more selections on day 2. We've got the number 59 in the second round and number 91 in the third, plus a flurry of day 3 picks. And then it really picks up with 4 picks in the 6th round alone. So while the first round did set the tone, Baltimore's full draft weekend could really color and impact the future of our franchise with these 11 picks. Now, we're going to explore a couple of things. Whether the Ravens got their guy that they truly wanted with the number 27 pick, or if they missed out on some key targets. Plus, with rounds 2 and 3 on deck for Friday, we're going to break down Baltimore's remaining day 2 assets and potential targets. And then, of course, we can't miss this. We got to spin around the AFC North as we teased earlier, because the Bengals made a risky bet trying to keep up with your Ravens. And of course, the Steelers have an ongoing quarterback saga that we're going to have to look into. And let's not forget the Browns' bold trade that they did. So much that the AFC North is shaking through right now. So we got a lot to get into, but let's get into it. Baltimore is building a Super Bowl, but the road runs through the AFC North. Let's talk about how this is coming together. And that brings us to our first round pick, which by now you know, with the 27th overall pick, this, gentlemen, is who the Baltimore Ravens are welcoming to our squad. Mr. Malaki Starks. He is a safety, and we know this was a point of concern. It has been ever since we lost a lot of depth at that position. Some of it, Ravens were happy about Brandon Stevens' departure. We remember the nightmare trade. Well, it didn't start off being a nightmare, but the nightmare trade from the Saints that we were paying all that money for. We finally got free from that. So shoring up the safety position is because we know that's where you need depth as the season goes along. Injuries plague your secondary. And if you don't have replacement players that can come in, Well, it's a problem. Well, this guy right here, Malaki Starks, at the safety position, played college ball. If you haven't watched SEC football, you know Georgia has been a powerhouse, specifically on defense in recent years. And he was an absolute monster at the Georgia Bulldogs. Starks, he's a versatile safety. He's known for his athleticism, and he's versatile. And that's one of the things, as we know as Ravens fans, our defense is predicated on a lot of confusion and moving people around. And so having a player like Starks, who you're pairing up with Kyle Hamilton, perhaps the most versatile player in all of the NFL, promises to be something that really, really, really could be impactful and should be scary for offenses that we have to face as we go forward in the season. Now, over 3 seasons at Georgia, he amassed 197 tackles, 6 interceptions, and 23 pass breakups. Now, think about that. 6 interceptions, 23 pass breakups, 197 tackles. He's all over the place. He's all over the place. He's making plays on the ball when it's through the air. He's been making plays on the runners. He's truly, truly, truly a diverse player. And this is really what has, if you listen to most of the talking heads, has most of them excited about how he can be utilized, especially in the style of defense that the Baltimore Ravens play. Now, how does he impact? Well, he's expected to compete right away for starting time. Obviously, his role alongside Cal Hamilton could really enhance our secondary, and his ability to play the multiple roles, as we alluded to before, that flexibility in our defense is something that's really good. Now, a couple of things as we look at him here. Look at this. So we look at Starks. Look at his size. He's 6'1", 197 pounds. That's pretty good size for a safety. He's got some strength to him, obviously, because you see, and some speed. Look at this. 40-yard dash, 4.5. 10-yard split, 1.5. You want to talk about accolades? Yeah. 23 pass breakups we talked about. 2-time first-team All-American. He only played 3 years. So 2 of his years, probably the only one, in the SEC, a lot of times they don't get a lot of focus in their freshman year. So in the 2 years where he was featured, both times, first-team All-American, first-team All-SEC, he was a freshman All-American. He was a finalist for the Jim Thorpe Award and a semifinalist for the Bednarik Award. We got ourselves a guy. And remember, when he was doing all of this, he was on a Georgia defense that was already stacked with talent. So the fact that he rose above an already talented cupboard of football players is really amazing. So I don't know how you feel about this first pick. Maybe in the comments right now, you tell me who you were hoping that we got with this number 27 pick. I was really hoping that we shored up that secondary if we could get the right guy. And I'm really excited about this pick. I really do think that by adding him to a Kyle Hamilton, we are really, really, really just, and let's not forget, our secondary has some really talented guys. Really talented guys. We got veteran and new talent. Our linebacker core is really solid. But again, we'll talk about more about some of that in a minute. But right now, how do I grade this pick, this first round pick? I got to give it an A. Now, whether it becomes an A+, an A++, that's all going to be up to this gentleman here, Malaki Starks. Welcome to the Baltimore Ravens. We're really happy to have you. So we got the first one in the books, and that's always the one that gets the ball rolling. Now we got to ride Big Mo. Big momentum is in the room. And we're on to Friday's round 2 and 3. Now, of course, as we talked about already, we have one pick in the second round. That's the 59th overall pick. And then we have one pick in the third round with the 91st overall. What potential targets are you hoping that the Baltimore Ravens now attack now that we've got some real talent in the first round in the safety position? Well, I looked at it, and I'm going to tell you, I don't think we're done at the secondary. You really can't have enough depth in that position because, as we've alluded to on the show before, one of the reasons you get so many soft tissue injuries on your secondary is because those guys, by the time they're making a play on whoever the wide receivers are, the wide receivers are in full speed, The wide receivers know the route. The wide receivers are preparing their body for when they're going to cut. Whereas the corners and the safeties, they don't know when that's happening. So they are going full speed and then don't have the time to prepare that the wide receivers do. And that's why that sudden change, that quick twitch at high rates of speed leads to traditionally one of your most injury-plagued groups in football. But they're so important. They're so important. So I wouldn't be surprised if we did something at the corner to bolster the depth in our secondary. If we don't do anything at corner, then the next thing that might be a good thing is offensive line. We know we lost our Swiss Army knife, Patrick McCarry. We know that injuries have been an issue on our offensive line. Ronnie Stanley had his first full season last year. We're hoping he has another one this year without any significant injury. But your team goes as your offensive line goes. And when you have the best quarterback in the game of football, you have to have a line in front of him that allows him to be his best. And so I would not be surprised if there's a great offensive lineman talent there, that if we make a move in that direction. That would be my guess for the second round. If we don't go corner, then offensive line. And then in the third round, once we get around that 90 area, this is going to sound weird, but wide receivers. You got to always be looking at adding talent to that group. Wide receivers. If there's a really good wide receiver that's out there, I wouldn't be surprised if the Ravens went ahead and jumped and got one. Because, again, we saw what injuries did to us last year. At one point, I mean, look at us. In the playoffs, Bateman was down, right? Zay was down. You know, we were bringing guys off the bench. And thankfully, those guys, we had the depth to be able to still perform in that game. So it's a potential. With the wide receivers that are in this draft, there's a chance that we could reach for a wide receiver in the third round. Edge rusher would be the other thing. While we haven't been terrible in our edge rush, I mean, we've had great metrics as far as how Odafe Owe, and then, of course, the OG that we have that's refound himself on the other side of that defensive rush. We're still playing with age. And then, of course, with Odafe Owe, we're counting on him to take the next step, which I actually think he's halfway through that. If you watch Odafe Owe and the way he plays, he gets held more than anybody out there. And I think the main reason is because of how fast he is breaking around that corner. And he's big and he's strong. The only way they really can try to control him is to hold him. And I don't know why the refs, maybe because he's so massive and big. And I don't know why they let the holds get away on Odafe Owe as much as they do. But if you watch him, sit down and watch the film. I mean, he's figuring it out, though. And that's the thing. Once you know how guys are going to play you, then the chess game becomes, in this game, figure out how to deal with that if the refs aren't going to be able to save you from it, if they're not going to make the guys play fair. And we saw some of that start to happen last year as Owe got more sacks than he's ever gotten in college or his pro career. So it was a great big step for him last year. But I don't think that we're done. Because, again, an edge rusher that could really make an impact right away and add depth to that as well, so those guys can get rest. Because, again, every snap of the ball, the edge rushers are going. So if your edge rushers get tired and you don't have the depth to keep them fresh, then in the second half, when you need to be slowing down a team, that's when you're going to see them start pulling away. And with all the offensive power that is in the AFC North, think about this. Think about it. Now, we don't know who the Pittsburgh Steelers are going to get at quarterback, but we know for a fact that we have in the AFC North a dude down in Cincinnati who puts up massive numbers. We know that we have a high-powered offense in Cleveland that puts up a lot of numbers. For some reason, even when Deshaun Watson couldn't play well against anybody else, he plays well against us every time. We have some of the most dynamic players. And if Aaron Rodgers is joining that fold, who knows what Aaron Rodgers is doing. But anyway, we have a lot of offensive, high-octane concerns in the AFC. Patrick Mahomes and those guys, right? All these high-powered offenses, if your defensive rush tires, or if you don't have the depth to keep that thing going, you're going to suffer. So don't be surprised if in round 3 we go ahead and pick up something there. So that's what we got right now. We're not going to reach too far past that. Right now, let's see how close we get on Friday. Go ahead and drop in the comments right now if you haven't already what you'd like to see in round 2 and round 3. And after that, keep in mind, we still have 8 more picks. 4 in the 6th round, but that's another show. Wow, that's a lot of picks. Anyhow, so that's what I'm looking at for the Baltimore Ravens. Let me know what you think. And if right now, if you haven't already taken the opportunity to subscribe to the channel, please take a moment right now. We really appreciate it. It does so much. I really appreciate it. Like and subscribe. We appreciate you being part of One Flock. But let's look at what the rest of the AFC North has been doing in their attempts to try to adapt to that amazing offense that we've seen that the Baltimore Ravens have put together under this Lamar Jackson-led team. Because you know that's what the NFL does. After they see something, you know, it's like, okay, they got Derrick Henry, they got Lamar Jackson. The wide receivers at the Ravens are actually decent now, and Lamar's putting up almost 1,000 yards rushing and 4,000 passing. You didn't even have to guess that there was going to be a lot of focus on defense, trying to stop the run, trying to stop the pass. And sure enough, that is all we saw in the first round based upon the picks. So let's start off with this guy right here. So after shocking the world and trading down, switching with the Jacksonville Jaguars, giving up their number 2 pick, the Cleveland Browns didn't have to drop that far. They got the number 5 pick, and this is who they picked up. Mason Graham, defensive tackle. Now remember, there's already a really good legendary talent who's one of the highest paid players that the Cleveland Browns just signed in the NFL to an extension that puts pressure on every quarterback he goes up against. He's never sacked Lamar Jackson, which he's mentioned is something he wants to do before he retires. But the Cleveland Browns aren't satisfied with that pressure because they saw what Lamar Jackson's still been able to do. Thus, they brought in this guy, Mason Graham. He's a defensive tackle, played at Michigan, 108 tackles, 18 tackles for loss, 9 sacks over his collegiate career. Now, look what he's known for, though, his strength and agility. He adds depth to the Browns' defensive line. Now, you put somebody like that next to Myles Garrett, if he turns out to be good, the interior of that defensive line, this is what they're looking at. The Cleveland Browns are trying to figure out, how do you stop Derrick Henry, Lamar Jackson? And that's what they brought this guy in for. That's why they spent the number 5 overall pick. Not on a quarterback, as a lot of people thought they might. They went in and said, we got to get a run stopper. We got to try to do something about Lamar. And that's where you're going to see. That's where everyone's mind is at. Yes, nobody gave Lamar the MVP, but if you watch the reactions and how these other teams are building their own squads, what they're prioritizing, it's clear who they see as the most dangerous weapon, otherwise known as the most valuable player in the league. And it's a guy by the name of Lamar Jackson. This is a Lamar-inspired move by the Cleveland Browns. Graham's addition to a Myles Garrett, it could really bolster that run defense and pose some challenges. So we'll see how this turns out, but best believe it registers. Now, there's a few things that I thought were noteworthy about Mason And look at his career here. Look at this. He's a big boy. 320 pounds, 6'3". He played 39 games. He had forced fumbles, fumble recoveries. That you're only able to do with that speed and awareness that we were talking about earlier. He was a unanimous All-American last year. Second team All-American the year before. Two-time first team All-Big Ten. Rose Bowl defensive MVP last year. College national champion, so he's a winner. Freshman All-American. I mean, this guy, he's got pedigree. That's what you call that. So the Cleveland Browns feel that they got a guy. And looking at this, can't really say that it doesn't look promising for them. We hope he turns out to be a colossal disappointment. But that, again, is what we're looking at, the reaction of the AFC North trying to keep pace with the Ravens, or at least, if not keep pace, trying to figure out the matrix, how to stop them. But it wasn't just the Cleveland Browns who had this on their agenda. Because the Cincinnati Bengals, who we know shocked the world and somehow were able to keep all of their wide receivers, and wow, nobody saw that coming. They paid, put the money out there. Well, with their first round pick, look where they went. This guy right here. Mr. Shemar Stewart from Texas A&M University. Look at the size of this guy. And guess what he plays? Edge. So that defensive line, trying to bust the run, stop the run. Derrick Henry, if you let him get ahead of steam, you know what he's going to do. Lamar Jackson, you give him time, you know what he's going to do. The AFC North is all about trying to harness that all-time offense that Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens put on last year. And so here, they invested with their very first round pick on a defensive edge rusher, 6'5", 270 pounds. Played 37 games. In 37 games, he had 81 total tackles, 14 and a half tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. He had the forced fumbles. He had some pass deflections. So this guy really gets to the ball. He's got a nose for the ball. Second team All-SEC. He was a freshman All-SEC team in 2022. And he was a Senior Bowl invitee last year. This gentleman right here, his strength has been cited as him being long, powerful frame is what they cite him as with the notes. And he says, then they say he has elite edge setting ability, trying to contain Lamar, trying to keep that run stopped. Effective hand usage and functional strength at the point of attack, or some other notes that they've said about this man. Are you seeing it? I mean, it should be plain. It should be clear that the respect that has been given to the Baltimore Ravens' ability to run the ball and pass the ball has the attention of everyone in the AFC North. These investments in the first round in defense, the defensive line, is not for any other reason but that. So, again, we hope, that this guy ends up to be a colossal disappointment. But Mr. Stewart is certainly, if you look at his numbers from college, certainly holds potential to be a key piece for a obviously struggling Cincinnati defense. And a lot of people knew this is something they needed to shore up. But again, the impact that a true MVP has on the league, that's what you're seeing. The response from these other teams in just the way that they put their squads together, where they spend the most money. And right now, teams are spending the most money on trying to figure out how to stop Lamar Jackson in this offense. But that's it. And now we covered what Cleveland Browns did. We covered what the Cincinnati Bengals did. But there's that other squad. There's that other team. The Steelers of Pittsburgh. The Steelers of Pittsburgh that thought they were going to steal the AFC North title from us last year. They did not. However, the question that has been on the minds of almost everyone in all of football fandom is who stole the Steelers quarterbacks? They had two. They had two starting caliber quarterbacks. And now, who stole the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterbacks? The Steelers got stolen from twice. Well, that's a very simple answer, actually. The state of New York. The state of New York stole the Pittsburgh Steelers quarterbacks because right now, the New York Jets and the New York Giants starting quarterbacks going into this upcoming season are both former Pittsburgh Steelers. And they, Justin Fields signed a 2-year, $40 million deal with the New York Jets. Look at this. And he will be the starter. Russell Wilson with the Giants, New York Giants, signed a 1-year deal worth up to $21 million. $10 million guaranteed, $10.5 million guaranteed. That according to ESPN. Look at that. Two starting quarterbacks left the Pittsburgh Steelers. But you know what the Pittsburgh Steelers did in their colossal first-round move? You know who they picked up? Nobody. Thank you, Keith Sweat. I appreciate that. The Pittsburgh Steelers picked up nobody. So again, at this stage, with all those offensive weapons, the investment in wide receiver that they made last year, the question is, what are the Pittsburgh Steelers going to do? Now we know that Shedeur Sanders, who was projected originally to potentially be a top 5 pick, is still on the board. Colorado's phenom college quarterback is still on the board. Of course, he could go off with the first pick of the second round. He may be gone by the time the Pittsburgh Steelers come around, but you gotta think that Pittsburgh is gotta be looking at quarterbacks. They don't have one. They don't have a real weapon at the most important position on the field. And I actually don't mind that at all. But again, the state of New York is thankful for what the Pittsburgh Steelers allowed to be stolen from them. This is where we are. This is what's happening. This is the first round of the AFC North's draft night performance. And I got to say that the Baltimore Ravens, who started off this postseason with a more balanced roster than perhaps anyone else in the country because of what we were able to retain and positions that we were able to shore up in the offseason through trade, we just got better already. We just one pick in, and our secondary is looking a lot better. Of course, this is all promise. When you're talking about young kids, it's promise until they make it happen. But you got to be encouraged by that first round pick. And if not, you guys let me know. If you're not happy with that first round pick, who did you want to see? Who do you want to see today in the second and third round? I'm excited because I believe that with 10 more picks to go, with the few areas that we need to shore up, and this draft, the pieces that are out there, we should be able to do a lot of damage. So it's exciting times. Good to have you here again. If this is your first time here at One Flock, we welcome you. If it's not your first time, we welcome you back. I'm your host, Rob Love. I'm super excited about the fact that we got some football to talk about right now. It's going to be draft weekend all weekend. And by the time Monday rolls around, we'll all be digesting what the 2025 draft will mean for the Baltimore Ravens going forward. Until next time, though, I just want to tell you thank you again. If you haven't liked and subscribed, please take a moment to do so now. Tell a friend, and we'll see you back next time with all the updated news about this very important time of the year and what it means for our Ravens. Remember, if there's one thing that this world will never be too full of, that thing is love. So do yourself a favor. Find somebody that needs a little bit more love in their life and give it to them for it, all right? Appreciate that. Thanks for flying with a brother. I'm Rob Love. We'll see you back next time.
We take the field as one flock. No Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep grinding till we soar to the top. Come on, Ravens, here we go as one flock. We keep running till we soar to the top. Let's go Ravens, let's go Ravens.